Sailor Jerry, Ed Hardy, Don Deaton, and Bert Grimm, pioneers in the tattoo industry, and they all have a connection to Portland. And on this episode of I'm Tattooed in Portland, Bryan Gomes, a student of the man who has a connection to them all, will talk about the history of tattoos in Portland, the behind the scenes of the artists, and about how the industry has changed since he was taught by Rio de Janeiro. Stay tuned.
Check this out. Get your story told by Golden Rose Films. You heard?
Portland is known as a city where the ink never runs dry. But of course there was a time where that wasn't always the case. As a matter of fact, Portland's oldest tattoo shop, C-Tramp, is only a few years older than I am and was first opened by the famous Bert Grimm, who was also a native to the Portland area. A little history if you didn't know. One thing about history is it's his story. This is Bryan Gomes' version of the history of tattoos in Portland.
Don Deaton opened C-Tramp. 74, 75 is when the doors opened. So 74 and 75, Rio, my teacher, Don was his first student.
What? That's crazy.
Don had worked with Bert Grimm, massive history tattoo artist. Bert owned a shop down on the beach, down in Seaside.
Okay.
And that shop's still there. Wow. It's one of the old tattoo shops that are down in Seaside on the Main. And then Don ended up breaking off from Bert and ended up opening C-Tramp. 75, end of 75, beginning of 76, C-Tramp opened, and it was actually downtown is where it started.
Wow, downtown Portland.
And so
right in the
it
heart.
was off of 5th and it was down near the Reminiscent Hotel. The hotel's not there anymore. But then there was a big fire that happened down there, burned down the buildings. So he had to relocate, and that's when he moved up to Grand.
Okay.
It was on Grand for a long period of time. That was where Don did the tattoo school upstairs.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
and then Rio ended up reconnecting with him, and then he took over the rest of the tattoo school, and Don didn't want to do it anymore, and Don and I are still really good friends.
That's wow. Man.
And then C-Tramp just moved just recently because that building had an issue with fire and water damage, and so C-Tramp moved down off of Stark now, 20 something in Stark.
Okay.
But yeah, C-Tramp's the oldest shop in Portland.
Wow.
And then everything kind of fell into place from there.
And look where we're at now.
Look where we're at now. I mean, there's a shop on every corner, yeah.
Did you know that in the early 1900s, tattoo artists like Sailor George used to set up shop in saloons around Portland until the crackdown of Prohibition in 1918?
To think back and go, gosh, a lot of these old timers, he'd still talk to Don and stuff. And he's like, oh yeah, I mean, we all knew the industry was going to grow, but to be where it's at now, for artists to be at the level that they're at now, I mean, there's some of these guys that are pulling stuff out that you can't print on your camera, that good of work.
Okay, wow, damn.
Yeah. And Ed was being taught by Sailor Jerry, and Sailor Jerry's an old, he was a radio personality too. Sailor, lived down in Hawaii, did a lot of radio announcements for the Navy and stuff like that. And so Ed was training underneath him, and then Ed started seeing some of the Japanese work coming out of some of the tattoo artists, the master tattoo artists over there, and he's like, God, I would really love to, do all that stuff. So networking through the people, we kind of sidestepped Sailor Jerry and ended up going in Japan, and some of the stories, because Ed and Rio were really good friends, and some of the stories about how he learned and how all the stuff that he had to go through in order for a Japanese tattoo artist to even want to teach him anything. Said he had Ed coming in and drawing dragons, and would bring a dragon back in to show the teacher, here's the dragon you want me to draw, and he'd crumple it up and go draw another one.
Damn.
Over and over and over again. He spent quite a few years in Japan, living in Japan and learning their whole style. And so he brought back he's one of the reasons why color, the purples and blues and and oranges and all this stuff got brought back from Japan because they were using floral essence in their inks, and so they were able to bring out, you know, those vibrant, bright colors. Which here we were red, and the only way you knew if red was going to work or not was to put it in the skin. If it didn't fall out, then it worked. If it fell out, then it didn't work. Go back to drawing board. And then we were using Pelican drawing ink. You know,
I said the one that you
put
on real quick and got 10 seconds.
Exactly. And there's a lot of people that still use Pelican. They'll use Kurosumi, and it's drawing ink. You know, put it in. You know, the skin doesn't reject it, but that's a lot of the tattoos. Almost all the tattoos that were done in the old times were all done with Pelican drawing ink. It's one of the oldest inks in the industry. And he used it for quill pens and all that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the same ink. It hasn't changed. They've changed a lot. Yeah, they've changed a lot. I have a little dropper thing on the top.
Right.
Yeah.
The Declaration of Independence and everything.
Independence was probably Pelican drawing ink. My whole grasp in it came by accident. I was in the Army for 15 years. Got out of the service as a mechanic. Turned wrenches here for quite a few years. Ended up working on a guy's old car, and he ended up being a supplier for some of the tattoo shops, tuning machines. So I started getting into the tuning machines for him, and one thing kind of led to another, and I thought, well, hey, you know, I didn't draw a lot as a kid. I wasn't an artist.
Really?
You know, I didn't do any of that stuff. And so, but I was mechanically inclined. I knew what tattoo machines were. I knew how to take them apart, put them together before I even started tattooing. And then it just became one of those things. I had several other artist friends, Chris Angelo, who owns Pacific Tattoo. He worked up at Sinister before. I've known Chris for years. We go way back to when we were both tattooing from our houses. And so we artists will throw information at other artists, understanding that if they're serious about what they're wanting to get into, then that information is shared. We usually don't just spill the beans to any Joe Blow, just because, you know, if you're serious about it, it's a lifelong commitment. And that was kind of what I found as I started learning stuff and doing more of it. Lots of free tattoos with friends and family members, lots of my own tattoo work. Both my legs and my whole left side of my body is my own work.
Oh wow.
So then it got to the point where it was like, if I'm gonna do this, I need to be serious about it. I need to go get taught. So I need to find an old timer. I need to find somebody that's, you know, from back in that era, because if I'm gonna learn it, I'm gonna learn where its roots are at. I've always been one of those people that, you know, if I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna find out everything there is to do, know about it, and then do it.
And we're bearing some wisdom. Someone's been around.
Somebody that's been around the ups and downs of the industry, you know, what to do, what not to do, and that was something that Rio, my teacher, that was something that was taught. The school was designed around everything to do with the tattoo industry, not just tattooing. And so it started from basic old school flash, watercolor press board and acrylic watercolors, step by step. Yeah, so all of the flash that's up there is all acrylic watercolors and cold pressed watercolor board. The snake one up there took about a month and a half to do. But it's all old school. It's all, you know, graphite transferred onto the watercolor. So in essence, he taught us from the ground from when he started. This is how we started when I was young, and this is how we got taught. Everything from the startup to tearing down and putting back together machines, to booking clients, to that relationship between client and artist, understanding
troubleshooting,
troubleshooting the whole 9 yards. We know how to make our own needles. We know how to cold sterilize, hot sterilize. Everything that the industry is involved in, you know, shop operations, you know, bloodborne pathogens, the medical side of things, what to look for in patients when they pass out, what to look for in certain types of skin. I think, you know, back in the old days, they had given this label doctor to tattoo artists back in the old days. So if you look back in the 30s and 40s and 50s, they would all have a doctor next to their name. And so they get into tattooing thinking, okay, well, I'm just putting an image on somebody's skin. Well, there's a whole process medically involved in that.
A lot of the tattoo artists have rock star complex, I call it.
We have this reputation that everything is parties and
Got you.
parties and girls and
Right.
and it's really not. It really has.
Funny.
I mean, like, I get those questions all the time, like, oh, tattooing's gotta be cool because you meet this person and that, and really, it's not. it's not all it's cracked up to be. We have more days where we're dealing with a client that's really hard to deal with than we do where, oh yeah, this was a cakewalk day and I made $1,000 and sort of thing. And so they don't see the side of it where, oh yeah, we've been sitting at the light table for the last 6.5 hours
trying to really
this piece for next week, And so I think that the daily in and out grind that everybody has at their job that they love to do, there's always something that they can't stand or is tedious and time consuming and I just want to go home and veg out and watch a movie.
No, okay.
There's always that side of it. So even in the tattoo industry, it's the same thing. Okay. But I think all in all, keeps you emotionally grounded because you're constantly realizing that your life's not as bad as somebody else's. We see every walk of life, from the bottom to the top, in between. We deal with them all.
That's a good point.
It's kind of like a bartender.
Hearing the stories and
hearing the stories and
where they at, people were at, really at.
There are certain tattoos that are taboo for me. Not necessarily locations, because it's really your call. If you want face tattoos, I'll do them.
Gotcha.
I'm gonna try to talk you away from it. Names, don't do them unless it's your kids or past relatives.
All right. Just over that, or just?
It's a foreseen thing that's been going on in the tattoo industry since it began. As soon as you get somebody's name on you, shit's gonna go downhill. So I probably, if I had to put a number out there, I'd probably done over 3,000 names, and I've probably covered up 1,999.
You guys hear that?
Yeah, get something that reminds you of that person rather than the name.
Gotcha.
It's a lot more meaningful, because if you have something that reminds you of that person, it means you developed an actual relationship with them.
That's good.
I think there are those people that are collectors, then there's those people that are just followers, and then there's the people that, that do them for specific meanings, memorial tattoos or, loved ones that have passed away, that sort of thing.
Right.
So I think there's a lot of different reasons why people get tattoo work, and I don't think I've ever done a tattoo that I could say was stupid, because it's their tattoo, their meaning, their reasoning, probably some of my most memorable tattoos were tattoos that people literally shook their head at. Why would you do something like that?
Really?
So I had this lady, one of the last shop that I was at, lady came in to me and she said, she called in first, and she said, I have this tattoo, there was this drawing on my refrigerator that I really want to get done.
Okay.
And she said, but I've called about 6 or 7 other shops, sent them the picture, nobody wants to do it, so I was just calling here to see if you were interested in maybe tackling it.
Okay.
I said, yeah. I said, just bring the picture in. I said, you don't need to send it to me right now. I said, just bring the picture in, we'll sit down and we'll talk about it. So she comes in and she brings me this picture, and it's a 4-year-old's drawing of a cat, a big giant cat, and it's a stick figure cat. Has its stripes on it, and it has the family on the back of the cat. And so I looked at it and I said,
that's what that was.
Yeah, so I probably like stick figure cat with stick figure people on the back of it. And it was about, probably the size of a baseball card. And I looked at her and I said, you want it exactly like this. I mean, obviously this is your kid's drawing of something that's meaningful to him.
Yeah, definitely,
and you wanting to get a tattoo means that there's
that makes so
something
much
behind
sense.
it.
I mean, I didn't get why people would.
And so I said, yeah. I said, by all means. I said, give me a few minutes and I'll throw it together and we'll get you started. We get everything laid out. She's happy with the it's basically a photocopy sketch of what she wanted. And so we get down. I start cleaning her up. We start setting up, and in that process, she says, well, should I tell you the story? And I said, of course. I said, I wouldn't have tackled this if there wasn't something behind it.
Right.
You know. I mean, I would have done it anyway, but the story is what made the tattoo, you know. And so she tells me that her son went to school that morning. She had came home after dropping him off, and they live kind of out Damascus area. And so she came home, and the cat's body was there on the steps of their porch. The head was missing, and she had no idea what to tell her son when she went to pick him up from school that day. She had picked him up. She had kind of put the cat away. Told the son, hey, look, this is kind of what happened. And the son was like, well, you know, he took care of us. You know, that was our protector. You know, so he was protecting us. So he did his job.
Okay.
So this drawing evidently came about because he wanted it to show that the family was riding on the cat's back. And the cat was the big cat taking care of everybody.
Wow.
And she said, she said, I kept looking at this drawing on the fridge, and I said, I have to get that tattoo. Yeah. You know? And so that tattoo,
that's beautiful, man.
It was a short tattoo. It didn't take very long. It was just super stick
Think about the impact on her, the kids, everything.
But the impact that it created, I think, is what touched me more than the tattoo ever. I mean, I've done full back pieces, full leg pieces, and that specific tattoo just kind of drew out of me. It's like we leave a piece of us with everybody that we tattoo, and that was a big piece.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful.
You know? And so it was kind of one of those things. It's understanding where people are at when they're there and being able to touch them at that moment. You know, I think that's the bigger part of being a tattoo artist that doesn't get talked about. Because we gotta have this rock star.
Yeah, right.
We gotta have the shades and we gotta be badasses, and we're people just like everybody else.
Yeah. So how do people know, like, how to find you, contact you, or like?
I'm all over Facebook. I'm all over Instagram. PDX Ink on Facebook, or my name, Bryan Gomes. Instagram, same as my full name, Bryan Gomes. Ask around about me. I've been tattooing in Portland since 2010. Probably done everybody from Canada down to San Francisco. So, you know, I have traveling clientele and people in other states and other countries that I've done work or worked for. And, yeah.
Thank you so much for watching this episode of I'm Tattooed in Portland. Please stick around for a preview of upcoming episodes.
What's good with it? It's your boy BK Live. Compton Crazy Portland pays me. Inner Circle Media. And you tuned in to Tattooed in Portland.
These tattoos tell a motherfucking story all day, every day, you know what I'm saying?
Jesus be so icy, I'm still full of sin.
Y'all gonna get a up close and personal situation. You know what I mean? We're gonna put this shit together. We're gonna show y'all the ink. We're gonna show y'all the life. We're gonna show y'all what y'all want to see.
We gon' run your place before we let you in. Streets be really hungry, they gon' pull you in. Ask me how I know because they put me in. I done took some losses looking for them wins. I accepted the L shooting for the wins. Treat her like a foreign, take her for a spin. Throw her in the ocean, see if she can swim. Swimming with these sharks, they gon' eat your limbs. I ain't got no heart and I don't need no ribs. Ask me why I'm like this, that's just how I am. Hoes, money, clothes, that's just what I am. Out here ducking fetties, I don't catch a case. Once they catch up to you, they be on your face. They just wanna hit you.
Check this out, get your story told by Golden Rose Films. You heard?
Too blessed to be stressed.